This is the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verses 4 to 7, and then 16 to 20. So Joseph went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee down to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. So the shepherds came with haste to find Mary, Joseph, and their child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told to them about this child by the angels. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned to their flocks, glorifying and praising God for all that they had heard and seen, as it had been told to them. As we start tonight, would you pray with me this prayer that comes to us from Norwich Cathedral across the Atlantic Ocean, especially written for this evening that Christians around the globe celebrate together. Would you pray with me? God, bring us with the shepherds to kneel before your Son's humble manger. Let us sing your glorious praises like the angels that proclaimed Christ's arrival. You stooped low to raise us high, and for that we are grateful forever. Amen. Would you stand and let's sing together? Hymn number 277.
Oh,
is something that explains or dives into the backstory of some of our most common Christian customs. And I don't know if you guys know this story or these stories that we're going to talk about or not, but the first thing I'd like to do is have all the kids come on up front. And parents, I apologize now that I'm going to give them profuse amounts of candy. My only request is don't eat it inside the church or you're going to get me in all kinds of trouble. All right. Ooh, awesome. You can come closer. All right, I think that's enough. I was going to have the teenagers participate too if I didn't have enough kids, but I think I got enough kids. All right, I do need an assistant, however. Nope, not a kid. You guys are going to answer my questions. An adult or semi-responsible teenager. So yeah, you're out, dude. Sorry. No, come on, you know. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 of our most common customs. You just need to hold that bag for me right now. I'm going to ask you some questions about it. You can learn about these customs, and they can listen in and learn too, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about, now, by the way, if my daughter were up here, she would totally want this, because this is her favorite kind of candy. You're out of luck. Okay. We're going to talk about Christmas trees. Christmas trees did not start with Christians. They actually started in other cultures, other countries in Europe. But around the 1500s and the Reformation, Martin Luther, y'all ever heard of Martin Luther? Martin Luther was one of the first people to use Christmas trees among Christians. So here's my first question about Christmas trees. The first Christmas trees for Christians were decorated with a certain kind of decoration. Can you guess what the first kind of decoration on a Christmas tree was? Give me a guess, anybody.
Baby Jesus.
Baby Jesus, always a good answer in church. But no, yes.
Star.
A star, good guess, no.
Lights.
Close. Dangerous lights. Okay. Oh, well, you guys are so close. Lights, fire, okay.
Candles.
Candles. Okay, adults, think about this. No fire marshal approved this, I'm sure. Christians living in Central Europe in the 1500s, living in wood structures, have pine trees in their homes that are decorated with open flames. I'm sure there were no accidents involved. Now, when the first Christians used Christmas trees in their homes at Christmas, they actually wanted everyone to remember a certain tree in the Bible. Now, my second question for you is, can you think of a tree in the Bible? Thank you. Well done. Okay, tell me about any tree in the Bible, a famous tree in the Bible. Yes?
Christmas tree.
Christmas tree. Good choice. Good choice, but no.
The one that Adam and Eve ate from in Genesis.
Wow, you're 2 for 2. Did you know that? Did you know that the first Christian Christmas trees were meant to symbolize the tree in paradise that Adam and Eve ate from, which is why, after candles, the next decorations on Christmas trees were fruit. The reason that we all go to Walmart and other fine establishments to buy plastic and glass orbs to hang on our tree is to symbolize the fruit in paradise that Adam and Eve ate. Bet you didn't know that. Bet you're never going to look at a Christmas tree decoration the same. When you see Christmas tree, see temptation. I think that's what they meant us to think. Okay, now, last question about Christmas trees. Christmas trees are a certain kind of tree. Most often they're pine trees. That one happens to be plastic. It lives up in the church attic. But most of the time, they're pine trees. A pine tree is a special kind of tree. What kind of tree is a pine tree? Yes? An oak tree. No? What's special about a pine tree? Do you know? Here's a hint. Do the leaves ever fall off of a pine tree? No. So you get this. No. A pine tree is an evergreen tree. The first Christians wanted to have in their homes every Christmas a reminder that through the gift of Jesus, they would be given life that would never end. It would never have a fall. It would never have a winter. Just like the pine tree, the leaves don't fall off. Great. Okay. Now we're going to move on to another subject. Ready? Oh, wait. So everybody gets trees, though. So you hand them, there's all kinds of Reese's Christmas trees in there. Everybody gets at least one. So reach into the bag. Then we're going to move on to our next subject. If there's enough, you can have two. Unless the adults want them, and we'll pass them out later. Fantastic. Everybody got it? Almost? All right, ready? Next subject. We have to move on to bag number 2, Eli. I know. Nope, that's bag number 3. Bag number 2. All right, who's that? All right. My bar of chocolate goes to the kid who can tell me the oldest other name that we have for Santa Claus. Okay? Right there. What? Elf. Nice. I think he has elves. Okay. Saint Nick. Well done. The oldest other name that we have for Santa Claus is Saint Nicholas. And we actually borrow that name for Santa Claus from somebody who was real in church history. And what I want you to do, open up the bag. How old do you think St. Nicholas was? How long ago did St. Nicholas leave? Anybody a fan of Pez? We have my Santa Claus Pez dispenser. Okay. How old do you think St. Nicholas lived? How long ago? Just guess.
1,000 years.
Oh, you're close. You're going to get it if nobody else gets closer. How long ago?
7 years.
Close?
At least 2,000 years.
Between the two of you. So, since you have two, okay, St. Nicholas lived in 300 AD. St. Nicholas lived in Myra of what is now Turkey. Now, here's the thing about St. Nicholas. One of the things that we do every Christmas traces back to St. Nicholas. Think of the things that you do with your family every year at Christmas, and maybe... Oh, right there before the question even got out of my mouth. You open presents. Now, you get to pick. That one. Done deal. You got it. Open presents. The reason that Christians open presents at Christmas time goes all the way back to St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas was a bishop. You do love those? So do I. Will you share later? Maybe. If I'm really nice. St. Nicholas was a bishop in the 300s in Turkey. He gave gifts on December 6th, not 25th, to all the poor and to all the children that were in his churches. There's a very famous story about St. Nicholas where a Christian widow was about to have her 2 daughters sold into slavery because she was too poor to afford her debt. And St. Nicholas on December 6th went and bought the freedom of her 2 daughters and then handed her the ownership papers. Yeah, that's Christmas. Hey, anybody want this one's free? You live with me. I'm sure you're going to get some of this. There you go. All right, everybody reach in, get a Santa Claus. Yeah, not the coupon from CVS where I bought it. Right. All right. Yeah, don't burn yourself on the candle like I'm going to later, I'm sure. All right. Everybody get at least one Santa Claus, or more if your parents allow. Okay. Come to Eli's open bag. Eli Claus. We will now call him Eli Claus. All right, third bag. Third very common thing you... Find the one. Oh, there. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Other side.
Oh, okay. There we go. Right, open flames, right? We were talking about that earlier. So, you see these all the time at Christmas, right? Candy canes. All right. Now, here's a hard question, because it's really kind of broad. Why do you think candy canes were invented? Yes?
So you can buy them.
Right, absolutely. Here, have a candy cane. Because you can buy them. Yep. I'm thinking of something way more specific. Yes. Why were these invented?
The shepherds had a king.
Oh, you're so good. You get the big one because you answered a question I haven't even asked yet. And you get the little one. Well done. Okay. So let me tell you the real answer. Give me the little one. Anybody else want to take a guess? Why were they invented in the first place?
I want the big one.
You want the big one? I bet. I know. Okay, why?
Well, probably because they wanted a tree to be sold for money, and they also wanted it to represent the shepherd's hook.
Very good. That's true.
The hooks are a small part of one building block to the entire story of Christmas.
Good. Very good. You get the candy cane for the most elaborate answer. That's awesome. All right, take another guess at it, and then I'm going to tell you. It's really hard to guess. Yes? Was it, yeah. Is it okay if you put it on your tree because you don't like them? Sure, that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. You could even talk me later out of maybe some chocolate if you want to trade it in, because I do like them. So, all right, take a guess. Why were candy canes invented? Yes?
Fire.
Nope, go ahead.
So because you flip it over and it's a J for Jesus.
Oh, okay, that's not what I was looking for either, but we are going to get there. You guys are like ruining this last part. You're getting all my answers early. You can have that one. So, okay, by the way, I should tell you, we haven't been able to verify this story historically. I'm going to give you the big one in just a second, okay? In 1670, in Cologne, Germany, there was a choir director. Tracy, you need to listen to this. Okay, there was a choir director in Cologne, Germany, who got tired of the kids on Christmas Eve messing up his special service. I kid you not. And so he figured out, you know what would keep the kids quiet? I'm going to give them candy. And so he invented candy canes. But then he thought to himself, oh, here, who wanted the big one? There you go. He thought to himself, how am I going to justify giving out candy in church? So he put a hook on the top to be a symbol of, as someone already has told me, the shepherds who went to see baby Jesus on the night that Christ was born. And, by the way, perfect. The first, hand me a red and white one. My fine assistant. I know. And you're not getting paid for it. The first candy canes were only white. They were not red. What do you think the white is? Why do you think they were white? Only white. Why did this choir director make them only white and hand them out in church? Go ahead. Yep. Why were they white?
Because they didn't have any red.
Oh, because they didn't have any red. That could be true. That could be true. Somebody else want to take a stab at it? Why did they make them only white? Yes.
Because red wasn't invented.
That's right. There wasn't any red. Absolutely. Somebody else, take a guess. Yes.
Because at the time they didn't think that stripes would be so filling, but then
that stripes wouldn't be so filling. Interesting. I got it. Striped candy, less calories. Awesome. I got it. All right, take one more guess and I'll tell you. By the way, what would white remind you of in regard to Jesus?
I got one.
Go ahead. I see a theme here. To remind us that Christ was perfect.
Look at this.
Oh, look at that. I know. Christ was perfect. And they wanted to remind all the kids way back in Germany that Jesus is the only perfect example to whom we can look to see what to do, what's right, what's loving, etc. The red was added, by the way, in Indiana in 1900. It's the same guy who made millions of dollars because he told people, when you turn this upside down, it's a J for Jesus. All right, so what do I have left? I have lots of candy canes. Everybody reach in and get a few candy canes. I also have one big candy cane left. Who hasn't got a big thing yet? Okay, there, you can have a big thing. Everybody reach in, grab a bunch of candy canes. There's all different kinds in there. You want one of those? You want one, Campbell? You can reach into the bag and get a bunch. Find me later out there when I'm saying bye, and I'll give you the rest of my candy too, okay? All right, thank you guys very much. Everybody else, let's stand and grab your hymnal and we'll sing again, okay? Y'all can go back to your seats. Seated. Elders who are going to help me serve communion, would you please come forward? Go ahead and you can grab your platter or your goblet, whichever you have chosen to do. On this, the night of Christ's birth, let's pause together. Remember him and come into his presence through the sacrament of the Lord's table. If you've never done communion this way, this is called intinction. It's one of the oldest forms of taking communion. What you will do once I'm done introducing the sacrament is you're going to stand up, and row by row, starting here at the front, you will come forward and you'll grab a piece of the bread from the platter and then dip it into the cup, and the elders will speak the words of institution that Christ gave us on the last night of his life. And then you can just file back around to the outside to your seats. I know we've got a lot of guests here tonight. We would welcome you to join in. If you yearn for Jesus as much as we do, we welcome you to come and to participate. This is something that I found a couple of weeks ago that was posted online by some very small, anonymous church in Scotland. And it's something that they wrote for their celebration of communion on Christmas Eve. And I just thought it was extraordinary. So let it be our introduction to the sacrament tonight. Here is bread, and it is good news. Let all who are hungry for justice come and eat. Here is wine, and it is good news. Let all who thirst for righteousness come and drink. Here is the table, and it is good news. Let all who are lost or weary come and gather here. Here is the new covenant between God and humanity, in which all things are made new, and it is good news. Let all who yearn for renewal come and gather here. Here is Jesus, and he is good news. Let all who seek new life come and find it. Amen. I invite the first row to stand up and come forward. And as the row finishes, the next row can stand up and do the same. Grab your bulletins if you would. And as we have celebrated through the sacrament of the Lord's table, Christ's birth, life, death, and resurrection, let's affirm together aloud what it is that we believe about Christmas. And I have to tell you that what we're about to read aloud together is something that I have grown very fond of. This is a creed or a statement of the Christian faith written especially for Christmas by the poor of Central America. And see how it sounds to your ears as someone who lives in a different time and in a different culture. See if it doesn't strike you to be exactly what Christmas is all about. So I'll do my part and you do yours. I believe in Jesus Christ and in the power of the gospel began in Bethlehem.
I believe in Jesus Christ, who ruled our lives, small village, of whom the mountain shepherds were murdered, and for whom there was no good.
I believe in Jesus Christ, whose life changed the course of history, over whom the rulers of the earth had no power, and who was not understood by the proud.
I believe in Jesus Christ, to whom the oppressed, the discouraged, the afflicted, the sick, the blind, and the injured gave a welcome, and accepted as Lord and Savior.
I believe in Jesus Christ, who through love changed even the hardest hearts, and with his life showed that it is better to serve than to be served, and that the greatest joy is giving your life for others.
I believe in peace, in justice among all peoples and nations, and in love among all.
I believe in the reconciliation, forgiveness, and transformation available in the good news of Jesus.
I believe that Christmas is filled with strength and power, and that this world is changed into humility and faith to be kneel before the nature.
And I believe that I must be the first one to do so. Amen. Let's stand and sing together one last time. So we light at the end of our service the center white candle, which we call the Christ candle, because just a few hours from now, Christ arrived some 2,000 years ago to live among us and to love us. The last words tonight come from a hymn book of the Church of England, written especially for this celebration. May the joy of the angels, the eagerness of the shepherds, the obedience of Joseph and Mary, and the peace that Christ brought the world be with you this night and always. May the blessing of God the Father, His Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon you and yours, and remain with you forevermore. Amen.